Welcome to On Our Way, a podcast about grief and loss. Beryl Botman is my name. Good day. The writing of Without You and Still Love Remains was a recount, a reliving of my experiences after losing my husband, Russell. Experiences that I was not accustomed to, that was outside of my normal worldly experiences, came to me as a big surprise, as a shock, and I had to deal with it. I became aware of a bigger universe. Not really become aware, I think I had a sense of bigger spirituality, but my awareness became more acute. The presence or the connection of this spiritual presence or involvement in my daily life became real. Before Russell died, I was open to spiritual connectedness. I was aware of being particularly spiritually connected to my great-grandmother. And I wrote about that in my book. And I think that was not the first time. I was also made aware of something outside of myself, presence and knowledge of something that I'm not sure, that is not tangible, when visiting a school. I visited a school in my capacity as a curriculum advisor, and I was aware of this strange feeling of belonging to a place that I'm visiting for the first time. And it's not a thing of deja vu, it's something completely different. And then I learned that that was the area, the suburb where my parents lived. And that was that connection. So it wasn't strange, but the matter of taking this kind of understanding and this experience took it to a new level. I suppose with regards to my relationship with Russell, the word soulmate took on another layer of meaning. Soulmate before then illustrated some connectedness, close connectedness in terms of we could anticipate one another's thoughts and feelings, felt similar over many different things, just needed a glance at one another to fill a whole conversation. And that is on that level that I experienced this soulmate. And this meaning deepened for me. My knowledge before about forever love, I think I spoke glibly about that. Forever love, but I didn't understand the real meaning of it. I think I probably still don't. But this love, this connectedness, this being, having a soulmate now in a different realm of reality for me, I didn't expect it to be so real. I share my experiences through my books, Without You and Still Love Remains. And in that, I tell the story. As I said earlier, I recounted the experiences and I relived them. After writing and after feedback from readers, another layer of understanding started to develop to where I am now. And the experience, the understanding, the knowledge about love is deepening all the time. I've had two particular feedback regarding love. And the one is from my daughter Roxanne, who after completing the read of Without You, that's the first book, overnight, wrote to me from London. First, she commented on the fact that this was the first time after high school that she read a book in one sitting, really. But she said also, it read like a love story. And this was quite surprising to me because that was never my intention. My intention was always, I will still write my love story. Now I'm writing my story of my grief, the loss of my love. And that started this thinking process of what does love mean? Not started, but it continued the evolvement of my understanding of love. The other reference to love was made by Daryl David at the Adam Small Book Festival in Pinyal in the Western Cape, when he introduced me and my book, Without You, as a collection of love letters. Again, I never thought of those letters that I wrote to Russell to relate to him what I was experiencing, how I was feeling, how I missed him. I didn't intend them to be love letters. But now that made me think, it made me rethink love. And I now understand, if I'm telling a story to a person that I love, then the love will come through. It's inevitable, although it is not intentional. At first, it was difficult for me to recognize this amongst multitude of emotions and feelings. Mourning, sadness, grief, longing, missing, besides other emotions like anger and other negative feelings, to recognize what is it that I'm feeling. And in exploring this question, what am I feeling, in therapy, love never came up as a concept. I never spoke about love in my therapy. I spoke about all the other emotions and feelings. But this question, what is love, really started to grow within me. And I had to think and read about it. And some of the psychologists basically describes it or names it a physiological drive. It's one of the basic needs of life, to be loved and to love. And it is not only emotional, it's actually physical. So love includes emotions like caring, affection, deep emotional attachment, and romantic desires. It also includes respect, compassion, commitment, intimacy, attraction, protectiveness, closeness, care, affection, and trust. And I've read several psychologists that names attachment, intimacy, and care as the core emotions of love. So all of these becomes one big muddled pool of feelings while you are grieving. And it's only when I started moving out of that I could really think and rethink of what it is that I'm feeling and what is this thing called love that I'm experiencing and what to do about it. So in my love for Russell, I had to identify what is it that I have lost. Have I lost love? And my conclusion is that the bond, the connectedness was broken physically, and physically only, it seems. In my writing of those two books, over a period of 2 years, after a 5-year period of mourning, I was not ready to write about this physicality that I have lost, other than to express it in words like I miss you with every fiber of my being. But I wasn't ready to explore this physical shift of the love, the absence of the body that carried the love, what that mean. Attending a workshop with Gender Works helped facilitate that understanding and the exploration of my sexuality, because I lost my love didn't stop me being a sexual being. And although I dealt with my sexuality, it was almost like automatic. It wasn't something that I really thought about. And what I realized during that weekend workshop was that my sexuality as a physiological drive was now different in terms that I no longer express love through my sexuality, but I actually just release sexual energy on my own. That was not foreign to me. I've been a single woman before I got married for quite a while, but I didn't give this meaning that I have now, I didn't give it at the time. So, exploring love as a whole person, me being still physical present in my own life and experiencing a love with somebody who is absent, whose body is absent, but there is still that very acute connection. And I've also read that love is a state of mind. It's how you think and how you are wired. And how you think and how wired is also a cultural experience. And I was not educated in the ways that I am experiencing love now. I had to educate myself. My culture and my upbringing wasn't open to sexuality, especially the physiological and the physical part thereof. My church, the religious, was very oppressive in my understanding of how one deals with and lives with your own sexuality comfortably and not seeing it as mainly sinful. Sex is mainly sinful. So I had to break with my upbringing, with my education. Of course, it didn't start then. I started as youth, but this continued. Now, I said earlier of how I became aware of a spiritual presence, a spiritual connectedness with Russell after he left this earth. One of the first signs that I got, physical sign that I got, was that I write about and is a central or the central symbol in my books, both of my books, is the anthurium flowers. I was not a person who knew names of flowers, but anthuriums I now know and I can identify them anywhere in the world. But I had to seek help. I had to seek guidance in my understanding of this occurrence of me here on earth being communicated to by Russell through somebody else's dream who came and delivered that message. That was totally foreign to me. And Jaap Durant, Professor Durant, was Russell's mentor. I wasn't close to him, but I knew that Russell said to me, if there's anybody who has thought about and done research about the year after, then it's Professor Durant, Jaap. And so he was the one I went to speak to. And he spoke about this bond that can never be broken. And that set me on a new understanding or new growth into understanding this connectedness. And this connectedness is what I see as love. And it is not coincidental that the flowers that he sent me were anthuriums, although they never featured in our living life together as any of our favorite flowers. But this particular flower is the symbol of love. It's a heart shape. It was crimson red flowers, which is the color of love symbolically. And me being a language practitioner, I can read into symbolism and symbols as meaning and so on. And besides that, I had many other signs of connection, like the steam in the bathroom that came out of nowhere, the Hadidas at his graveside at a moment was very difficult for me to handle. The owl that visited my house and stayed for weeks, more than a month, that reminded me actually not of him but of his father, my father-in-law. Other kinds of signs in nature, I became more aware to be more observant if I want to be aware of the messages that is being sent to me. So I became more aware of nature, the wind, secluded little breezes, everything else is still, but there's one branch moving. Made me pick up that energy, the feeling of energy, a warm touch on my arm, those kinds of things. I experienced as signs of connection. And the more I thought about it as expressions of love, it was not only about messages, but it was also an expression of love. And I felt nurtured. I feel nurtured when I get those messages. And I'm sure there are many messages and many experiences that I miss, but I try to be open and aware. What took this contact even further, this connection even further into contact, was my experience of streaks of light that I saw in the house where I was living in Stellenbosch, that I investigated, could find no explanation how those lights could reach the inside of my family room. I write about this in Without You. But those streaks of light led me to consult a psychic that I have consulted before for a reading. And in this reading, there was this contact. There was this man that Bruno described that sounded like Russell. The explanation that he gave looked in my mind's eye like Russell. And this then led to, during another crisis, that I decided to do a crossover. And that is where in fact, when I went for this reading, Bruno asked me, is there anything I wanted to say? During this connection, I said no. I was so shocked that I could say something, that I had nothing to say. But then later in the crossover, I wanted to know whether he was fine, where he was. It was one of the main reasons, and the other reason was I wanted to know whether he is satisfied with the way that I'm dealing with my life and all the issues that I had to deal with, especially regarding his death. But even before I could pose those questions, Bruno relayed to me all those answers to my questions. And so I had that. Beyond the experiences in my book, most recently as more than just a year ago, I was contacted with a message through Facebook Messenger by a person I've never met before. Person never knew about me, doesn't know Russell either, but said that she has a message from Russell. And the message was that there was some urgency of me getting involved in some project. She asked me, what projects are you involved in? This was all messenger communication. I never spoke to this woman in person. I said, I'm doing the bursary fund and the lecture, and there's nothing urgent about that. I came back to me and said, Russell said there's a project that you must get involved in. I still say to myself, I'm not going to listen to this man because I don't want anything new in my life. I want to just be calm. At the time, I was dealing with the last days of my father, who was 92 at the time, dealing with care and all of those issues for that. And then this weird stream or bundle of events led me in over a period of 1 week that I decided that I am going to buy an apartment in a retirement village. And it was a whole series of events. My friend, who is a Catholic, visited from England, visited the convent, and said she visited this convent. I said, but I see they're building there, and what are they building? She said, you better go find out, because they are building a retirement village and you might be interested and you might even be able to afford to live there, because it's a church development, or the church is involved in the development. So I did just that, and in that same week I had my apartment, And it was only after I've made this decision and made my choice for which apartment I had and signed my life rights agreement that I realized that this was the project that I had to get involved with urgently, because I got the last apartment with a kind of situation that I love for my living arrangements. And I realized that I am still connected, I'm still protected, I'm still cared for in a way that is beyond what I normally experience physically. So this all seems and feels kind of weird, and it's not easy to talk about. It's not widely accepted given the cultural environment that I grew up, but I do feel more connected to my African, my traditional roots in the way that I'm starting to feel and to relate to myself and this earth and whatever is beyond this earth. So I feel, and I even feel a bit weird to talk about this. It seems real. It is real for me, and it is true. This connectedness with my soulmate beyond this physical life that he had on earth is real and true. There's a new togetherness that I am now content with. There's a connection that I rely on, and I see it as an extension of my love and connection to Russell, even physically. I haven't lost love. I lost a physical person. I started to understand that soul to soul, love continues. I suppose that is why the title to the second book escaped me until after it was translated. Still, love remains. You've been listening to The Love I Lost in inverted commas, on my podcast, On a Way with Beryl Botman. Walk tall, tell it all. You've been listening to On a Way with Beryl Botman. You can purchase my books online on Amazon, Take-A-Lot, and at bookstores like Exclusive Books, Bargain Books, independent bookstores, and Barnes & Noble internationally. To connect with me, please follow me on Facebook to learn more about my book launches and talks. You can write to me at beryl.botman60@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.